Senator Coyle.
Honorable collègue, yesterday I rose to speak to Senator Bovey's inquiry, calling upon the Senate to renew and further our interest in Arctic issues, and to support her suggestion that we consider establishing a committee of some complexion, probably a special committee, to continue the important work of our previous committee. Today, I will wrap up the case I was making by first quoting again the four remarkable Arctic women leaders I mentioned yesterday. Nunavut's Sheila Watt-Cloutier, former international chair of the Inuit Circumpolar Conference and author of The Right to be Cold, said, "For the Inuit, ice is much more than frozen water. It's our highways, our training ground, and our life force. If you protect the Arctic, you save the planet. What happens in the Arctic does not stay in the Arctic. Everything is connected through our common atmosphere, not to mention our common spirit and our common humanity." Fellow Nunavut leader Mary Simon published her report in 2017 on a new shared Arctic leadership model. In the report, Mary Simon said, "I heard repeated accounts of the impact of a warming Arctic on food security, infrastructure, housing, and safety on the land and sea. The message was very clear. An adaptation strategy and implementation plan for the Arctic must become a national priority within Canada's climate change commitments." Aluki Kotik, president of Nunavut Tungavik Inc., recently wrote to me in an email, "I'm glad to hear you're working to revive the Special Committee on the Arctic. The Arctic is part of Canada. It has the longest Canadian coastline and has an incredibly deep imprint on the Canadian identity. Inuit have contributed as human flagpoles to Canadian sovereignty, and Canada takes pride in symbols of identity that come from our culture, such as the Inukshuk, kayak, etc." She continues, "Inuit are Canadians, yet the social determinants of health indicate that Inuit fall far below other Canadians in terms of food security, high school graduation, health access, employment numbers, etc., and are much higher in terms of suicides completed, incarceration, violence, etc. This requires special attention to be able to address these issues face on and to ensure that all Canadians are able to enjoy the same standards. We know that 7 out of 10 Inuit children go to bed hungry every night, and so we need to see the growth in economy translate into the pockets of the Inuit." Another Arctic woman leader, Carolyn Cochrane, Premier of the Northwest Territories, said, "I came to the table looking at not only what we could do for the North, but also what the North can do for the rest of Canada." Let's think about that. Colleagues, we have the new Canada's Arctic and Northern Policy Framework with its 8 goals I mentioned yesterday, which will guide the federal government's investments and activities over the next 10 years. The framework was shaped through a collaborative process, and the intention is to realize its vision and implement its goals and objectives by working in partnership. This will be critical, and there will need to be an ongoing commitment to that open cooperation, as well as very significant financial investments. On our Senate Arctic Committee study visit to Nunavik, Nunavut, the Northwest Territories, and the Yukon, we failed to land in Nain, Nunatsiavut, due to fog, but we heard over and over, no matter where we were, that self-determination and community-based decision-making is key to success. The "in the North, by the North, for the North" mantra resonated loudly whether we were meeting with Inuit, First Nations, Métis, or non-Indigenous residents of the Arctic. We also heard over and over that youth are our biggest asset. The new framework states that Canada sees a future in which the people of the Arctic and the North are full participants in Canadian society, with access to the same services, opportunities, and standards of living as those enjoyed by other Canadians. This ambition will require greater effort, focus, trust, and collaboration amongst partners. The people of the Arctic are calling for transformative change to close the many gaps and to further achieve their own diverse and ambitious visions. Colleagues, I believe there's an important role for us to play in ensuring the new framework attains its goals and in accompanying our Arctic neighbors in pursuing their ambitions. A special committee on the Arctic would be an appropriate and useful vehicle for the Senate of Canada to take up this task and demonstrate our commitment. I hope you will all agree. Nukurmik, Kayunamik, Mana, Kwana, Kuyanaini. Thank you.